Here on its side is an IKEA ESPEVÄR bed base, a slatted bed base. Okay. Now I've also found an IKEA sticker here, just for clarity. You can put your box spring on it and your mattress, and the bed slats are in it in this position, a little bit jumbled up. That's not the problem. The problem is that it's broken. It failed as expected. What a surprise. So let me explain to you why this is failed, what IKEA's choices are here for manufacturing. So let's take a look at some of the things that do work, so you can see and understand why the ones that don't work. For example, this leg here for perfect. This is a piece of hardwood. This is a pine, softwood. You can see it's a different color of wood, and it's one piece of wood. You can see it's end grain. You can see it's edge green and face green. Yeah, single piece, perfect, not failing. Over here, the softwood sides, you can see it's made up of different glued pieces. You can see the different end grains between the pieces and the different face grain between the pieces. This is on the edge. It's working fine. These are the bed slats, of course, also made of a single piece of softwood pine. You can see again the same pattern here. You can see the end grain continuing onto the face grain as well as on the edge grain. Single piece, softwood, strong enough, fine. Even if they have a knot in it, they work. In the middle of this bed base, of course, is a beam across. Now, beams should be deep for strength, and this one isn't. They could also be wide, but the strength of a beam is in its depth. Here in the workshop, out of this pallet material, beautiful Douglas fir nevertheless, I cut two pieces of beams. One is a square design and the other one is about twice as deep as it is wide. Let's put this to the test by hanging a test load on each of them. This end of the beam is clamped here, given a certain amount of bearing surface. And on this end of the beam, the same situation happened. In a beam pocket, another bearing surface has been here created, and between this surface here and the edge of the table there is the beam's free span here. Now, what's gonna happen is, here is 25 pounds, and that's gonna be suspended on this beam, and we're gonna see how much it deflects. Right now, it's dead straight. I can put a straight edge on it. It's not for leveling it, it's for checking it for straightness. Now, we can't use a straight edge once the hook is over the beam. So I'm gonna use a story stick. This story stick is gonna be very simply marked. There's my storyline on it. So we'll see how much the beam's deflection is going to be. So this is free hanging, and over here mid-span, and there. The beam's deflection is that much. I'm gonna mark it with the pencil, and there it is. It is some amount, whatever, 2 millimeters, an eighth of an inch, some. So you'd be thinking that, hey, if we double the width of the beam, the deflection is gonna be less. Well, let's just see. There, for fairness, this beam has the same amount of bearing surface there, and mid-span, it's at exactly the same height as the first mark that was made on the story stick. This 25-pound test mass is free hanging, so I can still see half the second mark there, but it's kind of covering half the pencil line. So the pencil line was made with the full width of the pencil line above the beam on the first one, and with this beam that pencil line is half buried, so this beam is deflecting half a pencil line's width less when the width of the beam is doubled, just about, from the first to the second. So the strength of the beam is in its depth. So the new beam's depth is not twice the first beam's depth. It's maybe 50% more. I hope that makes sense. And of course the end is clamped as usual. So let's see, the unladen beam will have a new top of the beam, a new height. And I made a pencil mark right there. So it's different from the first setup, yes? Yep, the test weight is in the air. So let's take a look at the movement mark. This is the new deflection. I don't know if I can mark it. It's going to be so close to the previous mark, but it's about the width of the original pencil line is how much the downward deflection is. So yeah, I tried to mark it, so there it is. So that's how much we deflected down with the deeper beam, and you can see the previous pencil marks, the faint line and the second line there. The difference is obvious. The strength of a beam is in its depth. Increasing its width does very nearly nothing. And its integrity. You can see that this beam is not made up of a single piece of wood. This beam is laminated and glued. You can see the glue joints there between two different pieces of wood there. And so this is 3 layers. And the ends line up. That's a problem if the ends in the pieces don't overlap. Here, nice, these two overlap. This one here, the overlap is minimal, not ideal. And also the depth of this beam is just insufficient when kids jump on the bed. Obviously, you can see it bent the metal rail. The forces applied on it bent this metal rail, and it broke right here at the glue joint where some of the ends, like that one and that one, are too close to each other. And there, the wood pieces don't overlap sufficiently. Again, it's a nice overlap here. This one and this one overlaps that joint. And yeah, these joints are nowhere near far enough apart from each other again. So this piece is unsubstantial, substandard. It's a piece of garbage the minute it was made. And IKEA decided to have this beam in the middle of this bed made out of the weakest piece of garbage they can find. So I'm gonna replace it with a 2x4, single piece of wood where the end grain, edge grain, face grain obviously tell you that it's made out of a solid piece. Softwood, pine, yes, just as the original. I'm gonna have to remove 2 bolts there, 2 bolts on the other side, and replace it with a deeper, where it's gonna be deeper. It's gonna be more, it's not gonna be wider, it's gonna be the same width this way, but it's gonna be deeper, and it's gonna be, most importantly, so a solid piece of wood. It's gonna be very, very simple. Grab a 2x4, cut it to length, put 2 holes in it, put it back together, make it look like it was made by a person with a clue, not this garbage. Takes just a few seconds to remove the screws. Easy. And of course you'll take out a bunch of these screws from the bed slat rail. And let's have one last look at insufficiently overlaid finger joint lumber, where the joint locations are not offset far enough apart from each other. So let's have failure, it looks like. Wonderful. So I'm gonna need a piece that is 77.5 inch long to fit this frame. So let's look around in the woodworking shop here for something that is 77.5 inches long. I'm just gonna cut out this broken piece because this one is intact, and I want to point out that it is perfectly fine when used as a leg, vertically down. When all the loads and forces applied to it are vertically down and it's not subject in a horizontal position to bending. Okay, I hope that makes sense. That's the reason why finger joint wood, like this, is permissible in North American wood frame construction to be used in walls as vertical pieces, studs. And of course, IKEA used it in a horizontal application right away as a beam. What a bunch of retards. Yeah, this kind of stuff, basic properties of building materials, is covered in first year apprenticeship in any trade school. Now let's think about this bent slat rail situation here. I'm not gonna even try to straighten them because the bed comes with a second set of perfectly straight slat rail, one under another, because the broken piece of wood can be used in two positions, and it was used in the top position. So that means that the lower slat rails can be used and they are perfectly straight. I clamped the bent one right next to the straight one, so you can see the obvious difference between the two. But most importantly, you can see that these plastic pegs need to be removed from this. These need to be removed from this, and at the same height, these need to be positioned over there onto this rail. Just a few of them. So 1, 2, 3, and the fourth one down there. 4 tiny pegs. Just need a slotted screwdriver at this end, and on this one it needs a different kind of screwdriver. Why not? Thoughtful design. Removing these bolts and these plastic nuts are fairly straightforward. It takes just seconds. And change of plans. I'm not going to remove these ones from the old bent rails. Instead, because I'm going to use the new ones, I'm just going to put these ones back the correct way around. Plastic insert on that side of the rail, because that's how these are oriented as well, for aligning the sides of the slats. And it doesn't really matter at all what kind of screw, whether it's a slotted screw or this kind of screw, is holding the plastic piece of hardware on the top of the rail. And there we have it. I have 2 pieces of straight rails with the plastic spacers rotated to the correct side of the rails, and these 2 are just garbage. Here in the hardware store or at the lumber yard, you can see that the cost of fixing this problem, 2x4, 8 foot long, is $4 plus change. Let's call it $5. I pulled one out that's straight enough, both ways, looking good, nice. I'm gonna keep this one, and want to comment on IKEA's sourcing materials and management practices, that they couldn't spare the $5 to get a straight piece of wood into the bed. Instead, they went with the chintzy Mickey Mouse, badly manufactured and used in the wrong horizontal application, piece of garbage, sandwich wood that doesn't work in the first place and takes exactly the same labor hours to drill it and install it as with the correct piece of wood. And the item is already $375 on the shelf, and they couldn't spare the $5 to build something that actually works. Bravo, IKEA. Brilliant management thinking. And there it is. Piece of lumber fits even the smallest Mitsubishi Mirage. I'm gonna cut this end off here because of this wood knot. I gotta put 2 screws in the wood here, and I don't want this knot to be interfering with it. So chop chop. And I wanted to make this cut with a hand saw. Yes, right over here is a perfectly functional chop saw. It doesn't need a power tool. If you also don't have one, don't worry about it. You can get this done within minutes. So my finished piece cut to length is over there. I want to point out one other thing about the different shapes of the wood. So this is the IKEA original that broke, and this is the offcut from the 2x4. So the 2x4 is slightly narrower but is deeper, and as I pointed out earlier, in beam design, depth matters vastly more than width. If you look at the rectangle, the cross-sectional area of this beam, which rectangle do you think is bigger? Yes, this is deeper, but it's also skinnier, so don't be wondering for too long. This is with this plastic caliper, 66mm by 42mm length and width, so that's the cross-sectional area on that one. And this over here has a cross-sectional area and a measurement of 89 by 38. This one is 22% larger rectangle than the original. So, because it's also made of one solid piece instead of laminated and glued, as well as this has depth instead, this is gonna be way stronger than this ever was. Now, there's a difference in width between the two of them. This way, this one is 38mm wide and this one is 42mm wide. So that 4mm difference means that the ends of the bed slats over it, there's going to be a 2mm gap on the left side and a 2mm gap on the right side, because this is 4mm wider. So be it. Of course, I need to pre-drill the 2x4's end for the bolts. Looks like this one is 3/4 of an inch on center and 2 inches on center. Easy. The depth of these holes, 3/4 of an inch, 2 inches, needs to be the length of the threaded section. So the length of the drill bit needs to match that. Very straightforward, yes. Now for the placement of this rail, it looks like it is 1 7/8 inches away from the end. Easy. So there, this line is 1 7/8 inches from the end, and this line here is 1 1/4 inches down from the top, and they will go together like so. This needs to be at the center of the oval hole, and of course the same story repeats here. Very, very straightforward with the same line placement there, and the rest of the holes, of course, will just line up. There, my alignment is pretty good, and the holes are oval shaped, so the rail can be moved for perfect positioning side to side. And for this size of screw, I'm using 13/64 drill bits, or about 5mm. Yep, both of these bed slat support angles are on the same edge of the wood, and the two holes on both edges of this 2x4 are laid out from the same edge as well. That's not coincidental. So I'm ready to install it in the frame, and of course it fits the frame and it's been bolted in place. So let's take it to the family and give it away. And of course the bed slats fit perfectly. Let's see, where's the 2mm extra gap? That's 2mm here and 2mm there, because this is 4mm narrower than the original. There's enough clearance on all sides for the bed slats to fit. It's perfect. Good to go for sleeping on. So this ESPEVÄR bed frame is out of production, not surprisingly. Maybe this Lingor is better. We'll see.